Imagine the perfect day, the sun-drenched sky above you, the promise of family and the holidays ahead. You're 17 years old, strapped into your seat, gazing down at the green carpet of the world's largest rainforest, the Amazon. Then the storm hits. Not a gentle rumble but a monstrous, black-bellied squall. The plane is shaking, lights flicker, and a collective, terrified scream erupts, only to be swallowed by the metallic shriek of tearing aluminum. In one incomprehensible moment, you are no longer 20,000 feet in the air. You are falling. Your mother, sitting beside you, is suddenly gone. The plane is gone. And you are strapped to a row of seats, spiraling through the dense jungle canopy, a terrified girl plunging from the clouds into the deep, dark, terrifying heart of the Peruvian Amazon. This is the unimaginable opening chapter of Juliane Koepcke's life. And the next 11 days would be a masterclass in survival against the odds, a testament to the fact that when everything is stripped away, human knowledge and sheer will can be the sharpest tool of all. December 24, 1971. Juliane was in the air aboard L.A.N.S.A Flight 508 on her way to meet her father, Hans Wilter Diller, a renowned zoologist at the research station Panguana. She was a child of the jungle. Her parents had raised her there. This was the critical difference between her and every other passenger. She awoke hours later. Her world was silence, broken only by the buzz of insects and the drip of condensation. She was still strapped to her seat, miraculously alive, lying amidst the wreckage of her flight. She was alone. Her injuries were severe: a concussion, a deep gash on her leg, a broken collarbone, and her right eye swollen shut. But the greater shock was the environment. The jungle canopy was so dense that the sun barely penetrated. She was immediately enveloped in a suffocating green twilight. Her first move was instinctive, taught to her by her father years ago: find water and follow it. She knew the Amazon. She knew that the king vultures circling high above were not a sign of rescue, but of death. Following them, she made a grim discovery: the bodies of her fellow passengers and the massive debris field of the crash. Her mother was not among them. Juliane realized the cold, hard truth: she was on her own. Drawing on her father's lessons, she recalled a cardinal rule: in the Amazon, all streams lead to rivers and all rivers lead to civilization. The major rivers were the highways of the rainforest. She found a small stream, but it was slow-moving and muddy. She needed to follow it until it became a Rio River. The dense undergrowth, the vine traps, and the sheer effort of pushing through the vegetation with a concussion quickly exhausted her. Every step was a new challenge to her wounded body. She fought through the first 2 days on pure adrenaline and desperation. Her only tool, a small bag of candy she'd found. Her greatest enemy, the relentless, suffocating humidity and the cloud of biting insects. On day 3, the stream finally widened into a river. This was progress, but it came with a new, terrifying set of dangers. Juliane realized that walking along the bank was too slow and too dangerous. The riverbanks were often home to deadly animals like caimans, alligators, and anacondas. She made the critical decision to stay in the water, wading and swimming where necessary, using her knowledge of the environment to guide her. She had to overcome her paralyzing fear of the water, the same water where she knew piranhas lived. She remembered her father's crucial lesson about piranhas: they are scavengers, not predators. If you had a deep, actively bleeding wound, they would be a threat, but otherwise they mostly left healthy swimmers alone. She kept her wounded leg elevated as much as possible, walking through the shallow parts and hoping for the best. The elements of the jungle were attacking her relentlessly. The sun, even filtered through the canopy, was blistering. Her skin, constantly wet, began to break down. But the most insidious danger was unseen: infection. Her deep gash became a festering, throbbing wound. Worse, she began to feel a wriggling sensation under her skin. She had been infested by botfly larvae, gusanos. This is where the story pivots from an outdoor survival challenge to a brutal test of human endurance. The pain was excruciating, and the thought of the larvae tunneling beneath her flesh was almost enough to break her spirit. She had to keep moving, or the infection would kill her before rescue could find her. Juliane used the only tool she had left: her memory. She remembered her father's teachings on water purification: boil it or drink from fast-moving tributaries to avoid parasites. She forced herself to drink, knowing dehydration was a faster killer than infection. She rationed her candy, but after a week it was gone. She tried to catch fish, but her injuries and lack of tools made it impossible. Starvation began to set in, further clouding her judgment and slowing her body. She was now running on nothing but the momentum of her self-rescue strategy. By day 10, Juliane was in a fugue state, the stumble and bumble of the survival mnemonic. She was nearly blind in one eye, her collarbone was agonizing, and her infected wounds made every step a torment. She had given up hope of being rescued. The search planes, if they had been looking, had long since given up on the crash site. She reached a stretch of the river where the forest suddenly felt different. It was sparser, less wild. Then she saw it, a small, crude wooden hut. This was the break she needed. Human structures meant people. But the hut was empty. Inside, however, she found two items that sealed her fate: a small outboard motor and a barrel of gasoline. The true turning point was not the gasoline for a fire, but the kerosene used for lamps. Juliane remembered her father treating a dog's wounds with kerosene to draw out the botfly larvae. With a courage born of desperation, she poured the fuel directly onto her wounds. The pain was searing, but the worms began to writhe and die. She was purging the infection, buying herself precious time. She decided to wait. She was too weak to move, but her discovery was a clear sign that help was near. The next morning, day 11, she heard the sound, voices. 3 local lumberjacks were returning to the hut. They were initially terrified of the sight: a ghostly, mud-covered, near-naked girl emerging from the jungle, her clothes shredded, her body ravaged by insects and wounds. They suspected she was a Yemanja, a river spirit. But Juliane spoke to them in clear Spanish, explaining the crash, the 11 days, and the flight number. The workers, stunned, recognized her name. Her father's work in the region was well known. They cared for her, giving her food and rudimentary first aid. The next day, they took her on a dangerous 7-hour canoe ride downriver to a remote settlement, where a small seaplane could finally take her to a hospital. Juliane Koepcke was the sole survivor of L.A.N.S.A Flight 508. Out of 92 people, only she survived the drop, and only she survived the Amazon. Her story is not a miracle of luck. It is a miracle of knowledge. Her parents had not just taught her to survive the jungle, they had given her the mental blueprints for self-rescue. 1. The rule of the river: follow the water to civilization. 2. The rule of the tool: use what you know. Her knowledge of piranha behavior and the common remedy for botfly larvae were the tools that saved her life when all others were gone. 3. The rule of endurance: you must endure the pain and the fear. The greatest danger in the Amazon is the failure of the will. Juliane later became a zoologist herself, specializing in the very rainforest that almost claimed her life, carrying on her family's work. She returned to the crash site, not out of trauma, but out of a profound understanding of the ecosystem that both nearly killed her and provided the path to her salvation. If Juliane's incredible story of resilience resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to be reminded what true endurance looks like. Hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories that arm you with the knowledge to survive the impossible. Let us know in the comments, what is the most important piece of jungle survival knowledge you've ever learned?